Morning, Jahannah James. How are you?
Well, it's good afternoon here in London.
No, that is right. That is right. So
That's
I'm
all
just
right. It's coming up to tea time. But
not much morning left here. It's 11:08 a.m. So
nice.
where are you? What time is it now? Are we have we linked back
Uh,
up on the
we're 4:08
four or
p.m.
five?
now, so
Okay,
um,
so we're 5 hours apart.
5 hours
It's good
apart.
to see you, Johanna. Thank you very much for
Good to
joining
see
me.
you. Update me. What's going on? Because I'm not able to make it across the pond this year for Cosmic.
That's
So,
right.
um, yeah. What's
Well,
the
one thing I'm just glad to kind of. I did never really. I never know if you announce something whether people ever see it. So sometimes I don't announce things, but I wish I had announced that you wouldn't be hosting. I've now said it a few times, and I guess I
right?
announced it, but it
Yeah.
might have looked like you had, walked off in a huff or something.
No.
And
To
yeah,
to be transparent, basically two things happened. My one of my best friends is getting married, and I'm a bridesmaid, and she picked her wedding day literally the weekend of Cosmic, and I was like, ah. And then I also became pregnant, and I'm having a baby, and I'm in the no-fly zone over the summer. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't fly because it'd be too late in the day. Um, so I'm having to bow out this year, but I've been talking to Steph about other ways that I could maybe be included digitally. We'll see. If not, there's always next year. So
well, good. I'm glad. I've been talking to Steph about the same thing, and I didn't know. I wasn't sure whether she had kind of talked it through with you, but I think it's a wonderful idea for you to have. So because we got a lot of introductions to do,
yes,
right? And we've got a lot of simultaneous introductions. So I think
yeah.
the
Because how
idea, one of the
many?
ideas we're kicking around is you doing some canned intros to people, which
Yeah.
I think will be kind of neat.
How many speakers have you got this year on the lineup?
27,
Wow.
6, 12, 28.
Okay.
Yeah, 28. Had 27 last year. They have a lot more time this year. Not a whole
Yes.
lot more, but everything's, and it's all a trade off. Terrible trade-off. And people like, we can't have, you've got three simultaneous stages going on, right? I don't know how I would pick. I mean, there's some people truly upset, and I guess somewhat justifiably so, but there's nothing you can do about that unless you take people out, unless you add a couple of days, you charge $1,500 a person who could, per person. It
Yeah.
just, there are
Logistically.
trade-offs that have to be made.
Well, the good thing is that even if you can pick one in the moment and then you can catch up after the fact, because I'll be watching what I can live, but also catching up
That's right.
on the live stream. So the
Yeah.
magic of technology. It's not the end of the day if you're not sat.
That's right. And it's, as I point out all the time, this is not a fly in, fly out conference. These people aren't coming, stepping on stage, and then leaving in their limousine. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that kind of group. But so if you don't hear the information directly, you're still going to see the person and probably meet the person and get a picture with them and all of that.
Yeah.
And then you can actually watch it, whatever they said that very day, in the live stream on your app on your phone. So anybody there's got one touch access to any of the information.
Are you still doing the opening party, the opening disco party?
We know we are going to do. I think we'll gather back there. Well, we are going to have a disco party on Saturday, but it's not going to be a big blowout like
Right.
it was last year. I mean, I don't really see why it'd be a whole lot different. But what we're doing Friday, Jan, it's a good question, is we're going to take a field trip, right? And we're
Oh,
going to
okay.
go. Yeah, not everybody has to go, so it's an optional field trip. So get to Greensboro if you feel up for it at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm getting quotes for insurance on buses, and I have a feeling it's going to be quite expensive. If it is, we might do kind of a drive-in,
Mm-hmm.
all right? And everybody drive 45 minutes away is a actual Native American spiritual place of great note. Now, if you live in that area, you pay absolutely no attention to it. It's just been sitting there your whole life. You call it Pilot Mountain, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a monadnock. And have you ever seen that place? Maybe I don't think you would have come across it, but have you heard any of this that
I've
we're doing a
heard
field trip?
it last year because I think this idea was seeded last year, and someone
Yeah,
was talking about how great it would be to if there was any extra time to go out and see Pilot Mountain. So yeah,
that's right.
it's
That's
ringing a
right.
bell.
Jim McKelvey, is an author who wrote a book, The Faces of Pilot Mountain, which I still haven't brought into the studio. I can hold it up. I've got my tusk. I've got my meteorite.
Yeah.
I got all little stuff, but I don't have all my props yet in the new studio. But he wrote a book called Faces of Pilot Mountain, and he had a booth at the summit, and people really enjoyed it. And they actually interviewed him for TV there and all that kind of stuff. He's done a number of TV segments since. And Pilot Mountain is what you call, I'll say it wrong, but a monadnock. It's a big granite dome that just comes out of nowhere.
Okay.
Like you're just driving through North Carolina, and by that time you're in the Piedmont, so it is hilly. It's not flat like down in Carolina Bay country, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's a 1,900 foot granite dome sitting there.
Wow.
Just out of nowhere, you know? And we all grew up, oh, it's the interior of an ancient volcano. And then you look up with kind of our Cosmic Summit skills and whatnot and go look it up and you go, no, it's not. That's what my teachers told me in elementary school, you know?
Yeah.
And they were wrong. It's not the interior of it. You know, so it's got various geological explanations, but it's so striking to have something come. I mean, that's twice the height of the World Trade Center, right?
Oh, wow.
And that, yeah, popping up or close to it, popping up out of nowhere. I kind of feel like I got to show a picture of it. If you don't mind, I know it's so
I want to
tedious.
picture this in my
Do you mind?
In my mind.
Okay, well, you and I are very informal, so let's see.
Ooh. Pilot Mountain.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Just boop out of the...
Boop. And a couple little mountains there, and you're looking east here. Assume I can go into maps. Okay.
So is the land it's on, is that open public land so you can go right up to it, or do you have to get permissions?
No, you can, and we're going to have a lecture up here in this parking lot, or maybe this little area right here.
Amazing.
Right. And then you can walk at your own pace or whatnot, and we're not going to have a guided hike. Some people may, on their own volition, care to make what could be a somewhat strenuous, not super strenuous, but I don't want to lead the hike, right? If they walk off on their own, that's just fine. Okay, but they got a killer viewing platform. I guess that's it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's people looking off of the viewing platform right there.
Whoa.
Right? And actually, the Corey Convention Center is right there on the horizon. Right? So you can actually see the thing from there.
Yeah.
But then if you look the other way, right, you see the Appalachian Mountains in the distance, because there's still a whole bunch of flat land until you get to the mountains.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how flat around the hotel was. So the views just go on and on and on. It was incredible.
Yeah, until they stop at the edge of the Appalachians. But here's the thing. You know, your fine nation settled our state. It was the first place settled, and you had the lost colony, right?
Yeah.
Which was here. Okay, so let's just say you're back there in explorer times, and you walked in. Let's say you were anyone that came into North America. I'm just not talking about our explorers. I'm just talking historically. You just walk in. What's the first thing that you would see that would catch your eye big time from a geological sense would be this peak.
Yeah.
Right. So where I'm heading is that and not that they didn't discover it in a time immemorial, but the Native Americans revered Pilot Mountain to a very significant degree. In fact, the probably apocryphal story is you had to take your moccasins off 20 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah. That was a big deal. And here the Cherokee revered it. And when I first heard that, I said, they don't live anywhere near there. And they don't.
Yeah.
Cherokee live way back here, 150 miles and 20 mountain ranges. And
but it was
that's right. But
special.
They would come. Yeah. And apparently it was yearly. I think they call it the Corn Festival or whatnot. But they would come all the way up here and then walk across the Piedmont. I never even picture a Cherokee walking in that part. I mean, they're mountain people.
Yeah.
But they did, so they could go to Pilot Mountain. And we're having a very special guest that's going to be joining the lecture, and that's Yonah French Hawk.
Okay.
And he is a pure blood Cherokee. And he's of some note that he speaks the language and he knows the ceremonies. He was taught by his great grandfather. He is not a grifter whatsoever, but he has performed ceremonies for a lot of very prominent people, particularly in Hollywood and whatnot. Makes him kind of sound grifterish, but he ain't that kind of guy. And it sounds patronizing to say it, but he's the real deal. It's the only thing you could say about him. So Yonah is going to come give a ceremony, which has been going on there for countless thousands of years, one would assume. So that's going to be really cool. So that's Friday night. And then you get back, say, oh my gosh. And the thing, the neat thing about Pilot Mountain on June 20th, the solstice, is it casts a perfect shadow that looks just like a pyramid.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
Pilot Mountain, when viewed from the side, casts a shadow that is indistinguishable from a Mayan pyramid. Okay. And what I'll do, so I've still got this up. Pilot Mountain shadow. North Carolina Pilot Mountain casts mysterious pyramid shadow. Right? So if you've got something 45 minutes from the Cosmic Summit and it's got current headlines saying mysterious pyramid shadow cast from Pilot Mountain, we got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our kind of thing. I'll let this ad play out. But, and you also, you hold it up in a hotel. People are coming from all over the world and the country and whatnot. They deserve to see a little bit of the surroundings. Let's see. Okay. So that's the beginning of, they get to it? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they didn't catch it perfectly. Hold on. I've had this problem before with this video. I've just remembered you can't. They didn't really get a picture of the shadow.
Pointless video. But
okay, here's one in the equinox. Damn it. I have got to start teeing things up before I do podcasts.
I can imagine that it
but what happens is you start talking about something I guess I could have predicted. Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah, okay. So when it hits right bang on, you got
Yep.
I
thought that was pretty cool. It's worth driving over there. So then we get back about 9:30.
Yep.
I believe, and we'll have the disco open and the party. But the next night we have the disco party. Then
okay, great. Do you want to pop yourself back on the?
Yes, thank you very much. One day I will get this podcasting stuff done.
Okay. Right. Okay. So Saturday night is a good night to let off some steam because you need to like unplug your brain a little bit after a whole day of it's school. It's like a whole term of school in one day.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot to.
And then, actually Saturday night, excuse me, gosh, I should have known the schedule, but we're just now, I've kind of locked this stuff in.
Yeah.
Saturday night, we're going to have dinner, and then we're going to have I was thinking it was Sunday or Monday, but whatever. We're going to premiere a documentary, a fantastic documentary on Atlantis called Atlantica. It'll be the United States premiere.
Okay. Who's making the
Michael Donnellan. Total badass.
Right.
Maybe I should play that. Hold on. Cool. I'm really pushing it with putting a bunch of wild stuff up.
And do you know what the angle of the film's about? Because obviously.
Yes, they have been diving off of Spain for a decade.
Okay.
And have located something. I mean, I don't want to scoop, the thing, but it's incredible. It's the best Atlantis documentary ever made. And they contacted us, said that we're a good fit. They'd love to be a part of it. Then we talked with them and it was like, hey, these are really, really top shelf researchers here. It's also a very highly produced, excellent documentary. It's definitely going to get distributed. I don't know much about that business, but I think it's going to be, out there. And we had the opportunity to premiere it. So we're going to have a real movie premiere Saturday night. And Then Sunday, we don't have anything that night. Then we have the blowout party Monday night after classroom day.
Okay. Nice.
Kind of a goodbye thing. Mm-hmm. But we're going to have some people, that have not been there before that you're going to miss this year that are really cool. Cause I know you probably, it'd have been, fun to get you and Dan Richards together.
Yeah. Right? Yes. I know we're going to pass ships, but again, hopefully next year. But yeah, there's right. Some really, really cool. I'm looking forward to watching online. I will be, especially Dan's stuff. Yusuf and Ben are there.
Yeah. Yusuf is coming.
Yeah, that's Yusuf a
good friend of yours.
And, so we met Yusuf, back on the original tour. For anyone who doesn't know, I met George and Ben and Yusuf and all in 2020 when we first
Jimmy Corsetti
and Jimmy. We all met together in Egypt. And that was a fantastic trip. And Yusuf is just such a fountain of information because not only does he live out there, his family, his father is very revered, like historically in the like alternative historical timeline and stuff. So he passes on sort of everything he learned from his dad, plus everything that he's just learned in his own independent research. And he's a fully professional stonemason. He has a shop. I've got some bits of Yusuf's stuff still. So yeah, he's got his own qualifications, and it's really amazing to see his eyes on Egypt, like stonemason eyes, looking at everything.
That's right.
So I was really annoyed that I'm gonna miss seeing Yusuf again.
Well, he grew up at the foot of the Sphinx.
He literally lives like his house and his shop is, you could like throw something and hit the Sphinx. It's amazing.
That's right. His entire life, and his father was a noted guide, and I guess you could almost say philosopher and esoteric student of the pyramids. Going way back. I don't know, maybe even his grandfather. But if you grow up in that environment and you've got an open mind like Yusuf, and you also have stone skills, you're gonna come out with some insights that are very special, and it's not going to be received wisdom. It's going to be, which you've learned and your family has learned.
Put it together, and it's sad because the planning, like the demolition plans for Egypt, because they're really trying to do up Giza and really like invest in the tourism, which I like the new gem museum, which I haven't seen yet. Which is, it's good because I agree, like Egypt relies entirely on tourism, so that has to be a focus. But it's sad because the whole area where they're gonna like basically just bulldoze is over Yusuf's home, and all of the
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's I've seen like a map of the proposed where they want to clear that whole area right next to the pyramids. Where there's
shopping district,
the Burger King, and the
Pizza Hut. There's a Pizza Hut at the foot of the pyramids. At the foot of the Sphinx. Yeah.
So all that area with the kind of, I think a lot of the buildings aren't to spec, and as you know, a lot of stuff's falling over in Egypt, and so they're going to clear it, and then they want to build like a metro system so that you can ideally go from one place. You can so the tourists don't have to get on tour buses. They can metro up and down and around Giza to the sites. But what's crazy is that the modern city and housing and where everyone lives, underneath that is just so much gold of artifacts, and people have been digging under their houses for decades and finding stuff to sell on the black market, because if you dig deep enough, it's the whole area where that goes right back into antiquity, like the Magi people, the people before the ancient Egyptians were like officially dynastic Egyptians. That whole area was known to be lived in, and so excavating it is going to be twofold things. One, they want to clear it, but when they do clear it, the government are going to be allowed to excavate. They're going to have like a small window to check what's going on.
I had no idea. That's really pretty cool.
So I'm torn about it, because I'm like, I'm sad that Yusuf's house is right there in the So yeah, people won't be able to live right opposite the Sphinx anymore because it's all going to be metro and.
Well, as long as it took to get that museum built, for God's sakes, you may see it in your lifetime. It takes a long time for things to happen over
I mean,
there, I
yeah, a
think.
lot because I remember that the museum was supposed to be opening like around 2020, and then it kept
I
going,
know.
and then it took 5 years to open. So I was like, I kept going to Egypt and missing it. So I've still not been, but I'm gonna have a little look if I've got a picture of what I'm talking about because I downloaded the
Oh, no, no,
like.
please do look. And I'll note for people that would our Egypt trip um, was very, very unique, never to be repeated, because they had opened. First of all, the tour was canceled for COVID
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be late November, early December 2020, and then it was off. And then Egypt opened back up, and they turned the tour back on, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Right, we were shut down, and then we were shut back on, and then we went over there, and we were some of the first people to. We were the only people there.
Oh, we were the only tour bus operating in 2020. There was like a
Yeah,
few independent tourists, but as a tour, we were the only ones. Nothing
that's
like
right.
that. I've never experienced anything like that. Going
There were
back,
parking lots full of hundreds and hundreds of tour buses just
just
sitting there.
and all the boats were out of commission because none of the boats could be used. So there was
Yeah,
just
that sucked.
all the
That's
Nile.
when
I know that was
that's
awful.
right.
Um,
Didn't get the Nile cruise,
which is like the highlight of. Although
but
it's the Nile cruise is always it's a bit of a two-sided coin because
yeah.
everyone gets ill on the Nile cruises. They're like
Oh, really?
amazing. Yeah, they're beautiful and amazing, and it's so lovely to see Egypt from the water, and to travel by boat is just, after you've been traveling on the bus, is just amazing. But every year people, because you're on, it's like a mini cruise, and you've got air conditioning, and you've got so many strangers coming together with all the bugs and everything, and the food is,
Hmm.
it's prepared on the ship. And yeah, I just, every year we always get major people drop in.
So that's where the Snake Brothers and Ben got so sick last year. Did
Every
that
year
start?
it happens. Like people get COVID on the Nile cruise. It's part of the cruise. Like it happens on Caribbean cruises as well. It's just the
Hmm.
cruise nature of being on a boat. But yeah, so it's I love the Nile cruises, but also like always get ill. So I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, give me
I
some
found
pause,
I
and
found
maybe I didn't
the.
miss anything.
I'm gonna just share my screen because hold on, I found the there we go.
So yeah, I'll tell you we were able to walk into Karnak, just pull the bus up, get off the bus, and
Yeah,
walk into a World Heritage site with absolutely no one there.
just wandering
Oh
around. I
wow,
know.
look.
So this was a scan like from 2021. So obviously you've got the Great Pyramid, and the Sphinx is down by the end of the one on the 2021, and this is
Hmm.
how close the like city Cairo city comes to the edge of the Giza Plateau, like literally right up, and it's all
Hmm.
higgledy-piggledy houses, layers and layers of
Hmm.
housing. And then this is the plan that they had by 2030. They wanted
No
to,
kidding. I had no
yeah,
idea.
because you've got the gem, which is done on the side, and they wanted to
Right.
make sure that you could basically, yeah. And they've got like a huge walk, like a kind of walkway,
Uh
um,
huh.
and that's going to have like the metro, so you can have the metro then come basically right up to outside the Giza pyramids. I think I've got another image here.
By metro, do you
Here,
mean subway?
yeah,
I
like a
mean,
subway,
okay.
like an underground train, or maybe
Yeah.
it'll be overground, but some sort of.
I didn't know they had a subway system in Cairo.
I don't think they do. I think they want to introduce
Oh.
some sort of. It could be a tram or something,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like something
Yeah.
that's going to just transport a trainy trammy metro. And yeah, so this is the plan. So you've got the gem, you'll have the plateau, and then that's what they're going to try and rebuild Cairo, like, because you've got new at the moment. There's I think it's called New Cairo. There's like a area
New
that's
Giza City.
or New Giza. That's the one. I've been there,
Yep.
and
I
that's
played golf out there. It was
yeah.
bizarre, man. It was like being in Cary. It was like being in Cary, North Carolina.
Mm.
I mean, the architecture was the same. Little golf side condos. I mean, it was just a bizarre
Oh,
feeling.
but here we
Yeah.
are. So this was when I was looking at just particular things about scans and because scanning Giza is a hot topic right now, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
here is an image saying about the potential kind of anomalies that are in and around the plateau. So you've got the Great
This
Pyramid.
is from the accompanying information to the abstract.
I don't know. No, I don't. I
It
don't.
has that same look, that purple look. See, I've seen this in other
Yeah,
people's
I
podcasts.
can't
Do you know
remember
what?
where I grabbed this screenshot from, but it possibly
Yeah.
might be to do with the research. So obviously everyone's talking about the Khafre pyramid, the middle one, but this is back towards when they were
Yeah.
scanning the Great Pyramid for the 2022 paper on the
Mhm.
SAR scans, and I think these are like suspected anomalies around the area. But look, it goes right out and into exactly where the current Giza residential city is, and right over where they would be doing all the building work for the new metro line. So
I doubt there's anybody that doesn't know, but let's go ahead and open the subject up because it has
yeah,
taken the cosmic summit constellation of subjects world by storm, and that's the Coffrey Project,
yeah,
which is a scan using two cutting edge technologies in concert: synthetic aperture radar and also radar tomography or whatnot, I believe you call it. And it's kind of a
yeah.
micro seismicity. It's pretty complex stuff. I mean, you usually read those papers. First of all, it's way beyond, and I haven't seen somebody simplify it properly for
Yeah.
me. But there are two different technologies that Biondi and his team at the Coffrey Project are using that apparently haven't been used together. Is kind of my first stop. So
And
people say,
yeah,
well,
because
SAR can only penetrate a few meters, but they're doing a couple of different things.
so yeah, it's I've only like just dipped my toe in the whole thing because
Yeah.
it's a lot of a lot of science and a lot of
Yep.
translating science from Italian, but yeah, I think it kind of all comes down to the claim of apparently like the software. There's a
Mm-hmm.
new software that's been developed or a new algorithm of software so that you can take established scanning technology and use it in a certain way that can make be able to see potentially deeper than, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise before the potential of SAR wasn't that deep at all. But so I'm excited and waiting for someone to, I think the team deserve the chance to explain how they've got to what they've got to, um, because it all just exploded out of the gate from a tiny little abstract of a press release that I don't think they had any idea was going to go that viral, because they've released a whole paper in the past and it didn't really, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know about it. It didn't even
Mm-hmm.
hit, and I'm someone that's kind of in the space, like researching this.
Mm-hmm.
So it just went woo. I think because the animation graphics was so clickbaity, but I think it points to something under there. If even if I'm kind of skeptical on the graphics myself, because I'm like, could be, but
Interpretation's interpretation, but
yeah, it's an artistic interpretation. Let's not go. But
and
I'm more.
it was clearly unwise. Like, they bungled the release of this. I don't mean to say I'm cheating, but I don't mean that critically, because that's not what researchers do. They don't manage their PR very well. I've watched it up close for
Yeah, it's
years and
they
years
had
and
no
years.
idea. They were going to do a press conference in Italian to the Italian
Yeah.
press and the public press, I guess. But yeah, they were not ready for the amount of people who wanted all the information, all the papers, all of the data. If they had any idea of how big this thing was going to be, I think they would have prepared better, and they would have been able to have proper media packs, and because there's so much communication. Because I think people are saying that they're saying that there's tunnels 2,000 feet below, whereas
Mm-hmm.
I was on the understanding that they're talking about 2,000 feet of tunnels, like under and around, not
Mm-hmm.
at a depth of 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is, I don't know, nothing that they're claiming really is anything that we haven't seen in and around. The Giza is riddled with underground tunnels and caves and caverns. And look at
It
the Osiris shaft. We went down there ourselves.
was horrifying.
Yeah, scariest thing.
It was like, somebody said to say, hey, go crawl up that radio tower and just get on one
Yeah.
of those little thin ladders,
It was
not strapped in, no
metal. There's
waivers.
no safety. I mean, it's not open to the public, so there's no safety. There's no tourism. It's just you pay your backsheesh and then they let you down for a few minutes. And if you are going over 100 feet down these metal rickety ladders that you're like, I do not know when this was installed, probably 1970. And yeah, you just drop down into the bedrock and into three levels that we know of.
That's right. And at the very bottom, you just look off into the, there's water flooded and you can tell there are tunnels going back there. You're like, what the hell?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's not even that.
There's definitely tunnels. So there's at the bottom, the third level, which has the huge black box, sarcophagi. And then you can tell that there were tunnels that go on, the one going down to the Sphinx and one going up to Coffrey. And what is interesting, and I've read an article and I've seen one image, but I've yet to sort of verify anything more than that. But the team who scanned the pyramid said that they can show, they scan the Osiris shaft and they can show the shape of the Osiris shaft in their imaging.
Right.
And so they're kind of saying, well, here's a proof of point because we've scanned something that already exists. I wonder if I've got an image of it.
Yeah. They also did the thing with other underground structures, right? And I think more of that's coming out where they went and you've got a known underground structure. You go use this technology and it shows it up. Now, that doesn't mean it couldn't be out and out fraud where you're manipulating those images and stuff to try to.
No, but what they're claiming is that I haven't got it on my computer. I think I might have it on my phone though. I can show this like a grandma.
Yeah.
So here was the image that I took from the article. I can send you it afterwards.
Right.
And apparently it shows the levels of the Osiris shaft as that we know it. But what it also shows is that it continues down, that we only know the 3 levels. And according to the scan, it shows the 3 levels we know of plus more. And there is something at the bottom indicating, more space, cavern hole, whatever. And I mean, like, to me, I'm like, well, why not? If they could go down 3 levels, with ease and fill it with sarcophagi boxes, then they could obviously go down even deeper. I don't see what would stop them. It just.
That's right. If you go to Filippo Biondi is kind of seems to be the lead. And if you look at his website, I'll show you, they do comparisons.
Oh, I bet his website's getting hits right now.
Oh gosh. Like, these are underground structures that it seems to have picked up, right? I don't know why it doesn't show that little piece of that tunnel, but that seems to be distinct. It's all subject to interpretation.
Yeah, it's
right. But if we got something to, at least we got something to interpret, for God's sake.
Oh, okay. So this is what mountain's this?
San Gran Sasso Physics Laboratory. Where one of these things is buried deep underground, and it seems to be picking it up. He's got a bunch of this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's hard because looking at the scans,
this is a classic researcher's website, just right out of the 1990s.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I just don't think this guy. And if you go to his LinkedIn, I don't know whether y'all can see that or not, but his LinkedIn, he's got 1,000 citations. He's written a whole bunch of really, really dense technical papers on synthetic aperture radar and radar tomography. He's obviously a PhD in that field. So what you would have to assume is that he then is prepared to throw his career away by faking a bunch of stuff. Now, I don't think there's any way that he's doing it. Now, they could be misinterpreting, but at least, again, we've got something to interpret.
Well, like genuinely, yeah, I feel that with a lot of people's research is like, I highly doubt that anybody is putting stuff to their face and their name without them genuinely believing themselves that that's what they see and that's what they believe to be true.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know anything about scans. For me, I find it really
Well,
hard to see because I can't. I don't know what I'm looking at, but you know what I mean. But it's like people who are like sonographers,
yeah.
and they do ultrasounds, and like I have no idea, and then sonographers know exactly what that blob and that blob and that line and that blob is, and you just gotta trust the people that know the tech. So I don't know. I'm hesitant to. Some people they really enjoy jumping on the bandwagon and trying to like bash down.
I know,
And they enjoy it. They really enjoy the witch hunt, and I'm like, I'd hold your horses a second.
These are people who share opinions with us too.
Yeah, it's I'd hold it for a minute until because I bet that's the same thing in anything in history about the guys. I think the Earth might be round. Oh, shut up, you're stupid. Yeah. And it's like, look who's laughing now. Or or the idea, people who had the idea of like inoculation also sounds mental. Well, what if we deliberately inject ourselves with the very thing we don't want? It's always sort of like the mad big claims that sometimes end up being so I'm just
all figured there would be some point of revelation about the pyramids, that everything would kind of change. There'd be a cascade of new information. I always felt that would come through some one way or another.
I mean,
and maybe that happened, maybe it didn't, but
where I am, I feel like if I was just going to go on statistical guesses, knowing the amount of tunnels and holes and chambers and shafts that we have that we know exist, like just because they charge people to go in them, the amount of gates that are all over Giza or the Giza Plateau to stop people from going.
You look in a hole,
it's riddled. So and also pairing that with the fact of the pyramid scan project that has come out to say, oh, by the way, this entire time we've found a whole new corridor inside the Great Pyramid, and there's a void the size of a jumbo jet that we don't know how to access, but it's definitely in there. So I'm like, okay, well that's nothing. That's not as wild as what these guys are just saying. A very similar thing, guys. I think there's more tunnels and holes and caverns and voids. And I think it would be more probable that there is something there that we don't know than to say that we know everything. Because we clearly didn't. The Great Pyramid has a jumbo jet-sized void in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think I have a little spidey sense feeling as well, because I know that they rely on tourism, that they allowed the void to be made public. But I think there's probably other things in the Great Pyramid that they found on the scans, but they're holding back, and they're probably about 3 or 4 years time they'll release, there's another chamber.
I think we're going to get down there and find a whole bunch of old scotch, like vintage. And they've been partying down there for years, the Egyptian elite. There's probably
I mean, I think
a whole bunch of like cast aside veils down there and stiletto heels and
it's like they've been using it for years. But no,
that's exactly. It literally wouldn't surprise me.
They
got all that stuff locked off. Somebody's got the key. Somebody's been down there, and if you were the elites, that's where you'd throw the party.
The best one, Atlantis parties in the basement. There's a channel, Matt Simpson, who does Ancient Architects YouTube channel. He did a video recently before all this broke out, basically looking at the archaeological history of Giza and when it was inhabited by the Madai people, and looking at Madai or the Madi, I'm saying it right, they dug into the ground because they found other sites that have evidence of kind of like underground grottos and underground tunneling. So that was something that pre-Egyptian people did, was they went under, and they knew how to dig into bedrock. And you can look at old Madai grotto type things, and then you can line it up with the subterranean in the Great Pyramid, the subterranean structures, And there's a thing called the grotto in the Great Pyramid, and Matt was putting forward the argument to say that there's like a really good archaeological evidence that all of the substructures were pre-pyramid, and the pyramid were put on top and over these very sacred ancient substructure tunnely grotto-y thing, and so that the grotto and the subterranean chamber like way predates the pyramid, and that makes sense, that there would be like more of that stuff, and if that can be dated to pre-Egyptian, I don't know, it's an interesting perspective to start researching. I would encourage people to start researching pre-Egypt, Madai, subterranean culture, and
those would have been the same people who first had the vases.
And then you start to because there's this weird gray area of Egypt, which is my favorite part of Egypt, which is from the Younger Dryas to the First Dynasty,
right?
Because that these were people who would have been living in the Green Sahara, and they would have it's about, what is it, 7,000 years.
That's right.
Of time that's just very, no one knows what the hell happened. And nobody really cared until recently. And
except that they had these.
Yeah, except that you've got artifacts that go back from this exact period, and then you've got structures that arrive, and then you can mark it from Younger Dryas to the Fourth Dynasty is like my favorite chunk. And within that, it's working out whether there was, were the people who knew how to build underground and do stone and were they also the ones that knew how to do the stone? Basically, they were just like the stone masters and the original stone masters. That's fascinating. That it's like we're looking at a puzzle and we've got like 3 pieces and it's 100 piece. And we're going,
that's right,
guys. But yeah, so Matt Simpson with Ancient Architect.
And then somebody will bring in a new piece and will go, that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And you go, no, I think it fits. And then you're arguing over whether the piece is a legit piece to the puzzle or not.
Yeah, because the stonework is just phenomenal. The pyramid work is phenomenal. It's
Let me make one other observation that's been kicking around my head about this technology. Think of the amount of, you got Saddam Hussein hiding in bunkers. You've got the Iranians building nuclear weapons, in bunkered facilities. Let's just stick to that one. That has been a concern for the last 30 years is about the underground facilities that Iran maintains to support its nuclear weapons program, right? That's probably the most important intelligence question on planet Earth. And if you think that we ain't figured out a way to image that stuff better than 2 meters into the sand kind of SAR technology, I think, you're being naive. I mean, that is such an important question.
Yeah.
That I guarantee you that there are hundreds of people at any given time trying to advance subsurface imaging. Why I say that is those things don't necessarily leak, but you get people skilled up in that around the world. And then eventually someone uses a cruder application of whatever the US is doing, and it kind of leaks out into the open world, right? Not that Biondi is doing Iranian nuclear stuff, but people are being trained in that. There's equipment that's coming forth, blah, blah, blah. You go to conferences. Eventually, whatever we're using for down there is going to make it out into the sunlight world. And so that's part of my intuition on this, is that these things are not beyond the ken of man to scan deeply. And if we could, it would be kept a secret for as long as possible. That technology would not.
Yeah. It's like everyone's so vulnerable. It's like basically everyone can be X-rayed, and you're like, And it kind of goes into there's a weird argument happens because obviously the Italian team had absolutely no permissions to scan, but because they didn't need it, because they're scanning outside of airspace. So there isn't laws yet saying that you can't scan from satellites. Maybe this will kickstart the whole thing and everyone will start arguing over satellite space ownage. But
that's going to be a hard one to regulate.
yeah,
But man, if they have figured out a way to let the possibilities worldwide are endless.
Because you got land regulated and airspace somewhat regulated. But
yeah, and the other intuition said that if I was a researcher that had this tool, where would you look first? I don't think they came into it with as pyramidians like we are, right?
Yeah.
And then started fooling around with radar tomography. I think they were radar tomography people who said, hey, well, what should we use this for? We've already done the underground physics lab. We've done the tunnel, well, let's try the pyramids.
Yeah. I would, if I was on the team and I was voting on where to scan next, I would scan for confirmation. I would scan the Amazon because we've got the LiDAR scans of the cities. So that are the thousands of cities that are popping up in the Amazon. So if you could show on the SAR that the same cities are popping up, so that would be a great confirmation. And then I would scan the entire Sahara, because if you've got cities popping up in the Amazon rainforest and the Sahara used to look like the Amazon rainforest 10,000 years ago, or even up to 7,000 years ago, I just bet that there's structures that are out there. The Luke Caverns, he went on a tour of Egypt this year, and he said he went to the Assyrian, because I was like, you have to, it's my favorite, like, report back to me when you've seen it, because it's my favorite site of the whole of Egypt. And he said that the tour guide, the like legit Egyptian tour guide who was there to make sure everything was said properly, he had a conversation with Luke, and Luke said, oh, so do you think it's 4th dynasty, or do you think it's later, in imitation of 4th dynasty? And the tour guide said, he goes, honestly, I think it's 1st or before. And Luke was like, oh, okay, why'd you say that? And he goes, I think this was what the 4th dynasty were imitating, because that that location down there, it is one of the oldest, most sacred locations of Egypt. That's, you've got the 1st dynasty graves, 2nd dynasty graves.
Yeah.
So they were already there and they were already building. And yeah, so it was just an interesting take, again, from someone who's from Egypt, is an Egypt academic, and he was saying his sort of personal, I'm not sure if it was off the record or not, and we're totally outing him to the world, but he was saying that he would put his money of it being 1st dynasty, or that weird gray period that we're talking about, of before the dynasties were established.
Butt flap people.
Yeah, or like, but maybe they weren't butt flap. Like it's really odd, like, because I thought the 1st dynasty of Egypt was like the 1st king, but it wasn't. It was the 1st king that united the 2 kingdoms. But for years there was 2 separate kingdoms and 2 separate kings, and like there's a whole war and a history that we don't even start at that. We just start at the first one that united. It's a bit like in England, because we have the United Kingdom. And we can kind of count the 1st king from the 1st king that united Wales, Scotland, and like everyone together. But before that, there was like plenty of other kings, but the territories were just different, and we were separate to Wales and Ireland, and So, but you don't count them when we're sort of flipping back in history. And I think the same thing. I just started, before I had to take time out. I just started researching, like that weird, the pharaoh list before there was officially pharaohs, because there's some archaeological,
the king's list,
like looking at the king's list, but also looking at like the archaeological evidence of rulers that didn't make it, because they were before Nama, the first official one, so then they can't make it on the list because you can't be before the first. But there are some archaeological evidence. There's a ruler. There was one called Pharaoh Crocodile was his name, and he's referenced somewhere in some very old ancient thing. And I was like, who's Pharaoh Crocodile? So I've just started researching. That's gonna be a little video, because I think now it's all eyes on Egypt.
Yeah.
more and more people are gonna want more and more answers from this weird 7,000 years of what was there before what we thought was there.
And we're going to try to get some of those answers just to tie it into the summit, the
Mm-hmm.
Khafre Project. And I don't want to overspeak, but I've already Trevor Grossi, the young fellow that you had on your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
very successful podcast, right when most attention was going to this. He is the fellow that released the abstract and put it
Yeah.
on his Facebook, and it blew up worldwide, right? So Trevor, I found, and I don't know him well, but he's definitely put his time in crawling around tunnels beneath Giza. And I think I looked at him in just one narrow sense as being kind of to that team as I was to the Comet Research Group, where
Okay.
you're the most enthusiastic person in their space. So you get in touch with them, you develop a relationship, and you gain some trust just because, you know, you that you're on the same team, even though that you're not qualified and
Yeah.
credentialed and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I used to do for the Comet Research Groups, kind of, you know, make sure this point is made or not made, or one that their direction. But I kind of know the role that he's playing. So we've invited him to the summit,
Mm-hmm.
and he is coming as a featured guest, which is a big part of the thing this year, that a number of people are not going to be speaking, but are also of note. So Trevor will be there. Also related to this, the first person to get one of the primary researchers, Filippo Biondi, on a podcast, I think the only one now to have one of the primary is Jay Anderson of Project Unity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was,
and Jay is going to be coming to the summit now. So there's a couple little announcements. Trevor Grossi coming, and then
Project
Jay
Unity.
Anderson of Project Unity is coming.
Yeah.
And he's following this very closely. And I, without saying too much, have asked those gentlemen to check with the Italian researchers and see whether they want to come to Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's underway, and it's going there. There is some interest there. So there's a chance we could have a Coffrey research hour and a half.
Yeah. I think
where
that's good
we
because
get the actual researchers up there.
Obviously the research team are Italian, and it was it would be really good to have a kind of English speaking space for them to launch pad off that, like all eyes on because it's a really good launch pad for getting your ideas out, Cosmic. And
oh good, well that's what I was thinking too. And I've offered we could do a press conference, we could do a lecture, we could do 2 lectures, we could do a Q&A. I don't know how it's going to form, but we've got a slot now, because unfortunately we lost Robert Edward Grant as a speaker.
Right.
These things happen, and no ill will or anything, just scheduling stuff. And so that opened up a slot, and we've moved some things around, and potentially we could fill it with Khafre Project. And I think that would be appropriate. And, you know, they were concerned about their English was one of the reasons they did. And I thought Filippo on Project Unity with Jay, I thought he had a very charming accent. He had a classic Italian accent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like at a central casting.
It's scary if it's not your, imagine having to go and give a talk, like a scientific talk in your first language.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think their best friend right now for the world is finding a really hot interpreter who is going to be able to convey everything they're trying to say properly, because the world is like waiting for them to really disclose and break down everything that they're trying to say. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And like, let them speak.
And,
let them
an
speak.
interpreter, I'll do that. We'd have an interpreter up there.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, if that will make them feel comfortable. Yeah, I think let them speak. They're making big claims, so they should be allowed a big microphone to to explain it. And it was, so the Project Unity video. So basically, how I found about it, somebody inboxed me on my Instagram and said, "Hey, what do you think about this video that's on? Is there anything to this on YouTube?" And they sent me a video. It didn't have many views, and it was a video that was made by a woman who was basically just verbatim relaying Trevor Grassi's Facebook post. So she packaged together a quick YouTube video, and then the only other YouTube video that was out there was Project Unity. So he made one, this lady made one, And then I decided to make a TikTok just from the information from these YouTube videos because I thought, oh, here's an update. There could be the scan thing. So I just made it thinking like
Oh
nothing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
thinking nothing of it. And
Yeah.
then the TikTok got like 16 million
Yeah.
views and it just went
Yeah, in like
crazy.
48 hours. I
Oh yeah, it
mean,
went crazy. And then I saw that Joe Rogan was talking about it, and Joe Rogan had obviously at the time there was only 3 videos. It would have been Project Unity's, but I didn't make a YouTube video. I pivoted to TikTok, and so I missed a chance to be because they played Project Unity's YouTube video on Rogan, yeah, I was just like, dang it.
this is not the interview with Felipa.
No. This I'm talking about. This was the in the 48-hour
round.
fallout of this sort of.
That's right. Yeah.
Going around the world. It started with Trevor Grassi posting the English abstract of the press release. 2 people made a video off that press release on YouTube. I made a TikTok, so I kind of got it into the TikTok sphere. Project Unity and this other lady got it into the and it just so happened that Joe Rogan picked up of all the early videos that he could have referenced. It wasn't mine, dang it. It was Project Unity's. And I was
hey,
like,
I know,
right.
always a bridesmaid, never a bride with Joe Rogan. Yeah.
I was like, that would have been the 3rd time I would have been mentioned on his show and yet to be.
Well,
yet to be on there.
I've made every effort I know how to get him to the summit, and I haven't managed to make contact yet, including asking him personally, when I was down there. I mean, those things are so fraught, and I understand their situation completely.
It's
but
like
I don't think
contact
he's
Santa.
ever considered it. The summit's been mentioned on Rogan a couple of times, and it always kind of in one ear out the other, which is fine. Most things are. Now, when you're hosting the event, you're like, you can't believe he didn't, season it. But I hope at some point Joe or Jamie and somebody in their circles will take some note that this conference is the most comprehensive thing out there for something that they spend about probably 20% of their content on.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the guys who JN Films who do the BAM, the Builders of the Ancient Mystery documentaries that I narrate for, I narrate the English version, they're French films, and I narrate. They've done a big Rogan push, and they sent a very cool like briefcase where inside it has like a top secret VHS and it's the BAM video. They're trying to get Rogan to get his eyes on the video because it's literally all the stuff he loves, which is the ancient stuff, but the BAM guys do it from a purely scientific, and they literally their films are speaking to experts in the field about.
It's an excellent film.
It's
highly
there's
recommend it.
There's 3 of them now, and they're working on another one, and they really good team, and their documentary, their films are about speaking to experts, speaking to stonemasons, speaking to architects, speaking to people who are experts in this now, and getting them to try and like reverse engineer, and it's so interesting just hearing the perspectives of all these like masons from 40 years experience just going. It's really interesting. But yeah, so that's arrived at Rogan, whether or not Rogan ever opened up the film case or something, but they showed me what they were going to send him, and I was like, okay.
Well, if we keep the Cosmic Summit going, I'm sure at some time we'll have Joe's interest in perhaps his participation. But just so people know, we're going to try to cover the Khafre pyramids as closely as we can, as responsibly as we can. And, you talked about all this kind of social media stuff, and it pops up here and there and it's whatnot. It would be nice. Maybe it's too far out for their timeline. That concerns me because I know that, and excuse the rain noise, I cannot shut one of the windows in here. It is stuck.
That's okay.
Can you hear that?
I can't hear it. So that's
okay. Well, you're a little hearing impaired too.
My ears don't work that well, so I can't hear much.
I mean, it is just pouring out there. Maybe I'll knock some of the pollen down. So excuse me, and we'll wrap up here in just a second. But it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder. We're going to cover this, and I think there's the timeline that on your podcast, Trevor said that within, a couple of weeks, his understanding was that there would be a tremendous amount of new information. Now it's been kind of a couple of weeks, but do you still have a feeling that there's more coming?
Yeah. I mean, I think that well, I'm just speculating on what I think they should be doing, but I'm assuming there's going to be a paper because they did a paper before on another pyramid. And to really like enter the arena and get people to take you seriously, you have to pay the entry price of a peer-reviewed paper, really. Otherwise, half the people won't even listen to you unless you're waving a paper. So I think that would be in the pipeline. And I think I think that they're sort of scrambling to get that the English translations done. But which is why I think Cosmic would be a really good place for them to platform for the
That's
English
right. And
speaking world.
maybe the time will be just right. But that's exactly. So take it and then kind of lock it down, have them on stage, have one central time, place. Other people can interview them and we'll manage it, not going to get them overwhelmed. But I don't know. It adds a little tangibility if they fly to the States and discuss in a public forum with an audience. And
maybe I'll offer my since I already do the English translation for the French guys. Maybe I'll be like, put your research into English, and I will. I'm happy to.
Well, I know you do that on short notice. When you did that translation of the French thing, did you fly over there and you had to do the whole thing that day or something like that?
We had limited time in because they hire a studio. Obviously, it's expensive, a proper sound studio, and we only had 2 days to do a 2.5 hour documentary, and it wasn't just as simple as reading the English, because it was English that was translated from French, but the translation was a lot of it kind of Googled. And yes, it was English words, but it didn't sound
you had
right.
to kind of rewrite it to say it properly.
We kept having to pause, and then me going back to the director and being like, I feel like you mean to say, or like also because French is so it's so rich and passionate and romantic, and sometimes when they just express things in ways that the English wouldn't. Saying something, they really feel things on a very deep level, but it doesn't sound right when you're in English. And it was a really weird exercise and then the second time we did it, I prepared and I pre helped them translate, and then it sounds a lot more smoother. But there is so much nuance that is lost between language translations. So I'm really going to give the Italian guys time, because it's not just a case of whacking it into English necessarily, because you can lose so much, like specific words that really mean something in one language don't in the other. But yeah, that was a crazy. We finished recording, I think, at 3 a.m. on that first one, and my flight home was at 8 a.m. So
my Lord.
We I went back to the Airbnb and I slept for an hour and then jumped back up and then went to it was fine. It was a rock star.
Well,
it felt like a rock star.
You can't tell. You really did do a good job on it. You had the perfect voice for that. You should hope you get more work of that type.
Yeah, I hope. Actually, it would be. It would be great if they could make some sort of film segment, even if it's a 20-minute short. Really, just like an infomercial of everything they're trying to say.
Oh, good idea.
That's what I would.
Well, maybe they could write it out in Italian. We could train you. We could pull the same thing. Do like
do you know what I mean? And then I'd
Google Translate and then clean it up.
Yeah,
and you voice narrate
it and basically go, here's the data, here's the project, here's the vision. Won't
it be fun in 4 months when we cut this up? We are coming up with that idea, and then we show.
And be like,
that's
guys,
what we'll do. And then
Coffrey.
we'll cut to the finished product, which is not yet in our hands today. But that's a good idea, Jan.
But that's what I would do. I'd make a short infomercial video, concisely translating
in their
everything.
words, not directly, but directly from them.
Yeah, but like I worked with them on a translation, make sure that everything's
then do 20 minutes, and we got an hour and a half in that slot. So then you could move on to questions and whatnot, but establish their baseline message.
Oh, definitely give them questions, because I think everybody has questions.
Yeah.
And there are some really important questions. One of the questions I have is that on the original paper, I can't see, and again, this is one of the things where it might just be down to me not being a professional sonographer and I can't see what I'm looking at, but I can't see the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber on the original scan. So obviously that's like the two chambers that we know of.
Yeah, Luke made the same point last night.
Yeah, so that's a question that I want to say, because the chambers turn up on the 3D model, but I can't physically see them in the scan. So then I'm going, well, why can't I'm kind of expecting to see a blob or a box where I know the king's chamber is, and I'm expecting to see a blob or in a box. I can only see blobs in different areas. So, and it might just be that they'll really simply, there could be an answer to that where they're going, oh, well, no, well, this graphic's actually from the other side and you don't see it from that side.
That's right. Or it's the slice of the cake. It's just this slice of the cake.
Yeah, because I know that it's the way that they do it is they take, like the one that they did for Coffrey, I think they said they took 200 tomography shots. There's 200 of them, and it's literally like slices of cakes coming from all angles, and then they put it all together, and that's how they like make the models. So it could just be something as simple as that they're going, oh, well, you wouldn't see it on that slide because it's from this angle, or but from this angle, or they could be like, good point. Why can't you see the so that's a question that would be my question to them at Cosmic. Yeah, that would be something. I'll be like, can somebody could Beyondy, could he walk us through a one-on-one on how to read basic SAR scans? Like, what's the first thing you learn? From blobs and shapes and colors, and try and break that down like as if to a 5-year-old, so everybody can, and then we can start accusing him of what's there and what's not there.
Maybe they could scan the Sheraton Four Seasons Corey Convention Center, right? Yeah. And we could pop it up and he could say, see, this is the room that we're in now. Here's the 1,000 hotel rooms here. And you can see the utility tunnels beneath us.
I think also as well, I don't know how expensive this is to do, but I know that it takes a long time. From the little tiny snippet I saw of Beyond his English interview, was that it was 200 tomography and it took them a year. So it's something that's not quick, and that he was saying something about the computer was processing the images, rendering the images 24/7 for a long time. It's not quite the CSI like let's just zoom in here. Right. It's measured and it takes a while. So yeah. I don't know.
So that's the one they have up at the, the NSA, the quiet government programs. They've got the one up there where you just type it in and it goes and scans any place in the next 45 minutes worldwide.
But there's so many questions that need to be answered. But it's exciting. I'm very excited. Yeah. What a time to be alive.
It's exciting to have you on the podcast. It is disappointing that you will not be here this year, but that is the way these things go. Not everybody can come every year. Right.
Yeah.
And I've
managed to make 2 years in a row. So that's right. That's good. Considering everyone's schedules are also all over the place. It's amazing how many people are able to return regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. But so June 20th to 23rd, we got 6 ticket types out for every kind of audience member, right? From VIP all the way down to I don't even need to eat.
Yeah.
To I don't need to eat and I'm just coming for the day. Right. But I think it's a great value. All the comments from last year and whatnot have said it was one of the most, valuable things that they've done on a weekend. It's a great way to spend a weekend.
It was a great vibe.
On Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll get to spend time with these people. Can't guarantee you're going to have the beer with Randall, but he's going to be drinking a beer with somebody and you're going to see him.
And to be fair, with the layout of the center, you can't not bump into people because everyone's just walking around everywhere. It's not like the VIP. Everyone's just walking. It's a hotel. So I bumped into so many people just running around. So yeah, you'll probably spy some of your favorites.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll miss you this year, but you'll be participating.
Yes.
So
digitally,
you're participating
I'll
right
be
now.
there.
Yeah, and we might do some, some video intros, some other fun stuff.
Yeah.
But Jahannah, let's stay in touch. Good luck to you and Cash over the next few months.
I know it's going to be a crazy few months.
It is.
But yeah, exciting chapter. We didn't have this on the cards for this year, so this is exciting times.
I remember it well. Well, thank you very much, Ms. James, and we'll talk again soon.
Mm-hmm.
And stay in touch. See you in 27. And everybody go take a look at the website and go ahead and buy a ticket now so I can sleep between now and the solstice. Okay? Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye.